two pieces here to read that I have written. This first one I'm going to read is from a series, and it's called Library Diaries. I don't usually work Thursday nights. To my surprise, it was a pretty slow night. This gave me time to open up those books that piqued my interest. There wasn't a laundry list still left for me to do at 6 p.m. Had there been, I wouldn't have noticed. I would have just focused on flipping open to the last page of the book for the barcode, and the book would have been stacked onto a pile for shelving. But today, on this slow Thursday, while scanning in the books for discharge, I saw it was nonfiction. A book on Fabergé eggs. Leafing through the book and admiring the pictures, I caught a glimpse of penciled scrawl on the first page. It was an inscription. Jim, this is the closest I could come to getting you the Fabergé egg you want. Merry Christmas, June. I'm not sure why, but I felt a twinge of sadness. Who were Jim and June, and what were they to each other? The date above the inscription read 1989. Could this have been a mistake? Maybe wrong classification for garage sale items? Right now, Jim could be searching his home, basement to attic, turning it upside down and looking for this book, never suspecting that at his garage sale in '95, he practically gave away his prized possession. Did Jim die? I could imagine family members going through an old house of belongings in a room full of boxes. Clearly, this book was tossed into the donate box. That family member who barely knew Jim and didn't even care to open up the book so casually tossed out his belongings. Were Jim and June lovers that had a heartbreaking falling out? And a scorned Jim, in an attempt to erase all memory of her, donated it because he couldn't live with himself to simply throw it away? And I even threw in the idea that Jim and June were mother and son. But being a mother myself, I couldn't imagine a son getting rid of a sentimental gift, even if he was over a Fabergé egg phase. I did not envy her, because clearly June, whoever she was to Jim, had the thought that counted in her heart when she got him this book. Whoever June was, she was thoughtful, and maybe the sad I felt was for her, because a Christmas gift from the heart from 30 years ago ended up in a library to sit on a shelf, borrowed from time to time, mostly to browse the pictures, to end up in the unsuspecting hands of a librarian who gave her thoughts some life on this slow, quiet Thursday night. And this one piece actually is called Early Morning Antidote. And this is about one of my younger sons. He has a little special needs, and we're kind of trying to get that figured out. So he usually goes to the bus stop with my daughter, and this morning I went with him. Okay. I stood there watching him as he stood there watching them, as one of the children retrieved his drumsticks from his backpack and lightly, playfully wraps them down on the kid's head next to him. I hold my breath for a second, because even though that child whose head is getting drummed isn't my child, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I can't help this process that goes on inside my head and through my chest. It bubbles and burns and bubbles up again. A slight smile is planted on my face, almost glued on, like that of a doll created in a workshop, perfectly handcrafted by some skilled toy maker. A permanent painted smile, no matter what's going on around me. My silent panic attack is broken when my son looks over and smiles at me, his sweet little smile. I smile back at my son, this time with my real smile, my loving smile. He's enjoying the childhood banter. His smiling almost looks giddy because he also wants in. He would be perfectly fine if the kid had wrapped drumsticks on his head, like a gang initiation, because this means acceptance amongst the other children. No, anxiety isn't a distant cousin of mine. It's more of a clear and present stalker. It follows me wherever I go and dips its ugly head around each corner, peeking just enough for me to see it, to know it is there. That's how it is with anxiety. But this here today, this is next level anxiety. This is parent anxiety. Standing there smiling at my kindergartner, already having imagined a dozen different ways these kids could hurt him, I smile, imagining little orbs of protection around him to keep him safe, and not sure I will let him, just him and his sister, go to the bus stop alone ever again.